What is up, Pal Fam? Welcome to day 96 of Countdown to FIDE 100. It's now time to conclude my favorite decade, the decade tens. So we're gonna take a look at the game between Alireza Firouzja and Murali-Karthikeyan. And 2019 was the one that I finally started making like started making YouTube videos since then. And yeah, like the first video was um the Vienna 18 segment, you know about that, and then the unnecessary chess battle. It's just so horrible. I don't want to watch it. And then Mario Kart Tour, that I really love, and I'm still doing it up until today. And the rest is history. Still with half a thousand subscribers. Okay, let's conclude the decade 2010s with this game between Firouzja and Karthikeyan. Okay, let's begin. Firouzja begins with d4 and Karthikeyan with knight f6 and then c4, g6, knight c3, bishop g7, e4, d6, h3, castles, bishop e3, c5, knight f3, queen a5, and Alireza Firouzja starts to make a mistake at the 8th move with knight to d2. I don't know why, what's the point about this, but you can just simply do bishop d3, c takes, knight c6, castle, bishop d7, queen d2, knight e5, f4, knight takes, and white's position will have like a slight advantage right here. That could work, at least. I'd say I'm gonna like take it. Back to knight e2, there's c takes and then knight b3. However, Murali also made a mistake with queen takes c3, giving up the queen. I just don't know why, but yeah, giving up the queen at this point, that's bad. Also, we can go down with queen to e5, bishop takes, queen e6, bishop d3, knight c6, bishop e3, b6, no, not b5, b6, castles, and bishop b7. So that's an equal position right there. Okay. Back to queen takes c3. The game continues with bishop takes, b takes e3. So gave up the queen at the 10th move, and d takes e3 and then f3. But the better one is ignoring that, and then king takes bishop e6, rook e1, knight f d7, knight to d4, knight c5, and queen c2. With white's having a slight advantage right there. I could say about that. No. I said no. Stop! Okay. Yeah, I think he's gonna like take it. Alright, back to f3. The game continues with knight h5 and then queen c1. Another mistake by Firouzja. You can just go with rook g1, knight g3, knight e4, knight e7, queen d3, bishop h6, knight e2, knight e5, queen d4, and knight takes. And white's position will have like a slight advantage over here. Could have gone like here and then maybe he's going to castle queenside so that he can prepare the rook right there. Okay, back to queen c1. The game continues with bishop h6 and then g4. Another mistake by Alireza Firouzja. He can go with what is it? Knight e4, knight g3, rook g1, knight d7, knight e2, knight takes f1, king takes f1. He has no choice. He cannot. It's so dangerous to castle for Firouzja. Knight e5, queen e1, and rook e8, and white's position will have like a slight advantage over here. I can say like I can go for like knight to d4 and try to go for that double attack right there. I'd say about that. Back to g4. The game continues with knight f4, but the better one is knight g3, rook g1, bishop f4, knight to d4, knight to d7, bishop e2, knight to e5, king d1, and knight takes e2, which makes an equal position after here. I can say about that. Back to knight f4. king d1. Another mistake by Alireza Firouzja. He could have gone with like queen c2, knight e7, h4, knight e5, knight e4, bishop e6, rook b1, rook f b8, g5, and bishop g7, and it will like remain on an equal position right there. However, Murali also made a mistake with knight e6. Seems interesting enough, but you can just go with knight e3, bishop takes, e2 check, king takes, and gave up the queen because it's pin or discovered check. Look, take a look back. Let's take a look. There, going to promote at the same time as there. The king and the queen has a problem, so it's like takes it. The queen's gone. Knight a6 and rook cb1, and black's position will have like a slight advantage this time. But here, after knight e6 in the main game, king c2. That makes an equal position so that he can just like avoid getting a pawn to go for check and try to lose the queen. So the game continues with king c2. So that if he goes e2, it's safe. But in the variation, it's bishop e2, blocking the e2 square for the pawn. And then knight c6, king c2, knight e5, h4, bishop f4, h5, bishop d7. There we go. That's what it states. Going back to king c2, the game continues with knight c6, h4, bishop f4, queen d1, knight e5, knight c1, bishop d7, a4, rook ac8, and knight e2. Firouzja made a mistake in there. He can go with knight d3, knight takes, bishop takes, knight d5, queen e2, bishop takes a4, king b2, rook c6, and rook hb1, and that would be an equal position right there. Ah, there's gonna be marks on it. Back to knight e2, the game continues with bishop h6, g5, bishop g7, bishop h3, knight takes, queen d3, knight e5, queen takes, knight takes, and queen f2. Staying is the better is queen d3, knight e5, queen g3, bishop c6, queen g2, knight c5, bishop takes c8, giving up the rook, and then bishop takes e4, queen takes e4, also giving up the queen. So he's gonna like try the knight here, and this time we are arguing on this position. I mean on this pieces. One rook, two knights, one bishop against two rooks, one bishop, and one knight. I can say like 3/2. I think that's like five. I guess so. It says in an equal pieces because black, white took two of the pawns. Back to queen f2. The game continues with rook c5, but has a slight advantage after bishop c6, queen f3, knight c5, giving up the queen again. Bishop takes, queen takes, knight takes, and bishop takes d7, and yeah, I'd say about that. Back to rook c5, the game continues with rook hb1, but the better one is rook he1, bishop c6, knight to d4, knight to e3, king d3, rook takes, king takes, and bishop takes b4. Eventually, he's gonna like lose the rook as well on an exchange. So just try to take it. If he tries to take it, I'm gonna like. There's so many in it. I'm gonna like take the bishop. Back to rook hb1, bishop c6 makes black in a better position, and then bishop g2, f5, g takes f6, en passant, bishop f6, and then rook f1. Another mistake by Alireza. Here could have gone queen g3, rook h5, rook f1, knight c5, knight to d4, bishop takes a4, rook takes a4, knight takes, and then rook f5. And black would have been in a better position right there. Okay, we're still far from over after here. After bishop takes c3, The better one is rook to a5, rook to a2, bishop g5, h takes, giving up the queen. Like, I mean, yeah, he has a plan on it. I can just go queen g3, I say, but you don't have. You must not underestimate the grandmasters. Something like that. So rook takes f2, and then knight c5, knight f4, and knight e3. And black is gonna win in this position. According to the engine, it's negative 3.12. That's in favor of black. Back to bishop takes c3. The game continues with queen takes, knight takes, rook takes, king takes, knight e5, a5, knight takes. But the better one, the exchange. Hold up. Wait, what? But the better one is bishop takes d4, bishop takes e4, knight takes, king d4, e6, a6, b6, knight to d4, king to e7, and black's position will have a better position here. That could stay a lot on there. Back to the game. The game continues with bishop takes e4, and then bishop takes e4, knight to d4, and then bishop d5. Murali Murali's move made is a mistake. According to the game, or the variation, it's king f7, a6, b6, knight b5, knight c6, rook f1, bishop f5, h5, king e6, and black's position will have like a slight advantage. I can say about that. However, Alireza also made a mistake with knight d5. He could have gone like a6, b takes, rook takes, king f7, rook takes, king f6, rook a1, knight to b7, and rook f1, and it's gonna be an equal position. I can say like I'm gonna go here, I'm gonna probably go there, and there's so many possible good moves for the black's bishop and for the knight. Continuing knight b5 is a6 and then knight c7, bishop c6, and rook f1. But better, according to the engine, knight e6, king f7, knight g5, king g7, rook b1, h6, knight e6, king f6, knight d4, and bishop d5. I hope you can still hear me despite the rain right there. Okay, back to rook f1. However, Murali also made a mistake with king g7. It could have gone with knight f3, self-pinning the knight, but it's just fine if he tries to take it. No. If he tries to take it, he gave up. Something like that, but instead in the variation it's king d3. Let's put it up on main line. King g8, rook c1, king f7, king e3, knight takes, it takes a6, and bishop f3 makes black win this game. There's all good moves right there, but he's gonna like, regardless of where will the king go, like a compass, this knight will be gone. Okay, no more. Let's see. There's no more mid variations right there. Let's see how it ends. And here, pal fam, Alireza Firouzja resigned because there's no fight on this pass pawn right there. Even though there's a knight and a rook, yeah, it's not gonna work. If the game would have been continued, you can go king a4, king f2, rook c1, king takes, rook c3, king f4, rook c7, knight c6, rook takes, and d4. And this makes black winning in this position. Okay, that's all that we can cover in the decade 2010s, my favorite decade. The countdown to video 100. Thank you so much for watching, Calfam. Don't forget to subscribe and become a Patreon member at patreon.com/Paul POW. And now, tomorrow, for the last 5, I guess, I'm got last 5 videos of countdown to video 100. We're moving on to the current decade, the decade 2020s. Oh, exciting as it is, but I'll tell more how did the year 2020 started off in in all the people. I don't know what to say about it, but yeah. I'll see you tomorrow for another countdown to FIDE 100, the last week.